Good evening, everyone. Want to thank you. We're going to open up the Baker County Land Planning Agency June 12th, 2025 meeting. If you would, please join us in prayer and Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we humbly ask you for mercy upon our nation and our community in these troubled times. Please guide the hearts of those in positions of authority. We pray for peace, unity, and a common good. We ask for your protection for those serving our country, both here at home and those abroad. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, folks, we've got a pretty full agenda tonight, but it looks pretty straightforward, so shouldn't take us too long. I would ask that if anybody wants to speak in the back center, there are some speaker cards. They're little half sheets of paper. Fill out your name and address and turn it in to Miss Julie, and you can come up and speak. If you do come up to speak, talk to the podium, give your name and your address. We just need that for public record, so it's recorded as part of the meeting and the official business. And with that, is there anybody here for anything outside of the agenda for the applications? Okay, not hearing that. The minutes have been submitted. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 8th?
Your motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the May 8th, 2025 LPA meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Madam Director, back over to you.
All right, good evening. Like you said, we have a decent sized agenda, but most of it is pretty straightforward, so hopefully it'll be quick and painless. All right, so the first application that we have is for ordinance number 2025-17 for a rezoning. The request is from Agriculture 7.5 to Agriculture 5. The applicants are Amy and Amanda Dennison. This parcel is located off of Arnold Road and Road. So we're actually looking at two parcels together. So we're looking at what you see highlighted here and this in the center. So for taxing purposes, it is separated into two different pieces. This here is a family lot that was given out of this larger parcel. So it's a 1 acre family lot that was given out from the rest of what you see highlighted. So it has a current land use of Ag B and a current zoning of Ag 7.5. So the parcels right now are in compliance and they meet all of the current zoning standards. But it is the applicant's intention to make this family lot larger. So she wants to give her daughter more acreage with that family lot. So the requirements for a family lot is you have to give 1 acre or more. So there's no maximum, but the 1 acre is a minimum. So she wants to be able to give a little more to that family lot and make it larger, but still have the flexibility in the future. She has another child, to be able to give that other child a family lot if that's where it leads. So right now you have a 1 acre parcel and one that is 7.95. So that's why we see the acreage of 8.95 together. If she were to give this family lot in the center more than 0.45 of an acre, it would put her under the 7.5 acre zoning that she currently has. So if she were to go under that zoning, she could not give another family lot. You have to be in compliance at the time you issue that family lot. So with the request to go to Ag 5 for zoning, she could expand that current family lot, and as long as her lot stayed at least 5 acres, then she could still give some additional acreage to her other child in the future. So, as you can see, everything that touches this parcel is very similarly zoned to what it is right now, which is Ag 7.5 and Agriculture B. So, this is kind of the front home. This image is from the front home here. So, if you look at this, mom's house is up here. So this driveway comes through and goes to the one child's house. So the image you're seeing is kind of from this driveway here. So the request from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5 would have the same uses and similar lot requirements with a minimal change in density. Again, the parcel is in compliance the way it is now, and so is the family lot, since it is a family lot. This is just kind of a way of estate planning and preparing for future use of the property. So staff recommends approval, and if you guys have any questions, the property owners are here this evening, so they could maybe answer any questions that I couldn't.
Okay, back to the board.
Yeah, I guess I have a question for you. It might be my misunderstanding of the rule, but I thought when you allocate a family lot, it didn't take away from the parent lot's status, right? So to clarify, so like if I have 7.5 acres and I'm zoned Ag 7.5, the way I understand what you just said, I can't do a family lot.
Say it again. If you're...
I have exactly 7.5 acres.
Yes, so if you have exactly 7.5 acres, you can give a family lot.
Okay.
You have to be in compliance with current standards at the time the family lot is issued.
So you can give one.
So you could only give one.
Okay.
So in this case, she has already given one. She could give, right now, without making the other family lot larger, she could give a secondary family lot to another child. But the 1 acre family lot, they're wanting to make that larger in size.
Right.
It's their intention in the future to build a home there, and they want to have some more space. So yeah, it has to be in compliance at the time of issuance.
Any questions? Any more?
Yeah. I mean, so
Go ahead.
it only, I'm still stuck on that. So unless they carve it out as a separate parcel, like they have here, they made it
Yes,
a separate parcel.
yes.
But you can establish a family lot without doing that.
There are different types of family lots. Yes, yes. In this instance, it was a family lot by deed, which means it was actually separated, and that acreage is deducted from that parent parcel. There are some different types of temporary family lots that allows an immediate family member to put an additional structure on that home or on that property, and it not actually be carved out as its own parcel. But those are generally temporary in some fashion.
Kind of like that one we had last month, that 3/4 of an
Yes.
acre across the
Yes.
street.
Yeah.
Good?
I just don't think I understand what's happening.
All right. Sir?
How big are they trying to make the lot? Is my question.
What would the acreage be? The family lot that's there now, your family lot. What is your proposed acreage that you're wanting to get to?
Can you go back to the picture?
I
of the
can.
visual?
I can.
So I'm wanting to give her the land directly behind that square all the way to I-2. You know what I'm saying? Make it a full rectangle. You know what I'm saying?
So like to
I
square
want less,
to square
I
this.
want less land, give her more. So, right.
Okay.
She's
That
wanting
makes
to
sense.
build the house directly behind that square.
Okay.
And what's stopping them from just doing a family lot?
Because this is already a
They have
family
an existing
lot.
family lot there on that square.
This in the middle is the
They want
family
to make
lot.
that square.
That is a that
Yes.
so that
So,
was
but she is wanting to give her some additional acreage to make that family lot bigger.
why not do another? You can only do one
You
family
can
lot.
only receive one family lot in your lifetime.
So they're just gonna expand that now.
And so,
When did we make the first family lot?
it's been
Over 20
yeah,
years
it's
ago,
been a long time.
I
It's,
moved my in-laws into that. I gave them that 1 acre when my in-laws moved out here, and they've since have passed away. It's been, I don't know the exact dates, but it's been a while. It was originally a 23-acre lot that I had.
Mhm.
I downsized, but I'm wanting
Right.
to downsize even more. The less maintenance I have, the better for me. So they're young, they want to start a family, they want to do animals, and that little 1 acre, they can't do much. So I'm hoping you guys would consider, my other daughter on the other side of that is kind of similar to what they're wanting to do. Can you show them that?
so this is
That's my other daughter, I gave her that. It's about 4 acres straight back.
this
It was
is
up
the
to
family
I-10.
lot that was given to the other daughter.
So something similar, she's wanting to go straight back to I-10. Because I have no use for the land behind their house, other than the.
So looking at this picture, it would be going from the left edge of that square to I-10, or a rectangle following those vertical blue lines to I-10? Where, do you understand what I'm saying?
So you need that.
Are you saying straight, just take this straight back to 10? Or are you saying incorporate this piece too?
Yes. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, and Amy, if you could fill out not now, you can go ahead,
Oh.
but make
So
sure.
Ideally, I just want this and this. So I'm wanting to take this fence line right here ideally and do it three separate, you know what I'm saying, like take this straight, this line,
Mhm.
possibly this fence line straight down. So she could build her house here, use the existing septic that's there, and she would own from this all the way over. I would have this piece left for my last child, and then my oldest daughter has this piece right here.
So you would be looking at 3 family lots here, 1 for each child.
Correct.
From the driveway back to 10. Looking at 3 strips. Would be her intention to where she wants to be in the future.
You said we can only give a person 1 family lot in their lifetime,
Yes.
and this family lot was created over 20 years ago.
It was,
To a different
yes,
one.
it
to a
was
different
initially,
person.
it was initially given
So
to
this-
her in-laws.
Okay.
After their passing,
Yeah.
it was then given to the daughter. So
But it
that,
wasn't originally created for the daughter.
it wasn't originally created for the daughter, it was
Okay.
originally created for the in-laws.
So if it wasn't, so if you inherit, if I inherit a family lot,
Mhm.
then no one else can, if I inherit it through another sibling, right? Or my mom and dad aren't together and I inherit one through my dad, but then my mom wants to give me a family lot, that can't happen?
No, it cannot. You can only receive 1 in your lifetime.
That's interesting.
And so then the next question, so I understand the 3 strips, but then what happens to that piece on the right border there? I guess that,
It's gonna be adequate.
What we're hoping
Yeah,
to do,
it'd be
and talk
split
to, is right now, this is not an easement. This strip right here is part of this 1 acre. What we're hoping to do is resurvey it, give her this piece, make this an actual easement for both parcels, and open this gate, open this fence line right here, so there'll be a way to get in. But actually make this like an easement, so that way, because
Okay.
right now, this piece is.
But you
over-
were talking about.
but that
the
does
piece
cover, that was gonna be my next
Oh,
question.
this here?
No, to the right edge. See where that blue box is? And then you've got the whole property boundary. There's that little strip. Do you follow me, LaDonna?
Yeah. So this strip here.
Yes.
So it would be squared up with this, with the family lot.
It'll all
Okay.
be part of it.
Okay, all right.
So the
I'm with you. So lot
the
1,
back line of this here would
Goes
be,
to the property
yes,
boundary.
yes. And it would
Okay.
You
I
may
just
see
didn't
you
want to
may
end
see a
up
shift
with.
to square it up,
Yes,
right?
okay.
She would go all the way to this fence line.
Yep. And that's the clarity I was looking for. And then my next question was going to be on the easement for access, because in the state of Florida, you can't have landlocked property.
Correct. That's why this piece is here right now, because this is a pasture right here. So so this didn't get landlocked, that's why it's kind of surveyed kind of weird. So that I could technically get in here if I had to, this way. But if you guys grant permission, then we would basically make this the access, and I can get through here. And then this was my original house.
Yep.
I will renegotiate with this landowner. Look, you can have all this right here, because, I mean, I don't have any use for it, because this is where our fence line is.
Okay. Good. Sir?
Good.
All right. Thank you, Miss Amy. And if you would, make sure you fill out a speaker card for us, please. All right.
There's no way around this.
I do not see a way around it that gives the daughter who has the 1 acre family lot, there's not a way to give her additional acreage and then still be able to give the third child a family lot in the future. The way it is now, it's an either or. She could either give additional acreage to the daughter with 1 acre, or she could give a family lot to the third child. I don't see any way for both to happen with the current zoning.
So playing that scenario out, if she did carve that piece off that she's wanting to do in the future for the other daughter,
Mm-hmm.
that would leave the parcel, that would leave the land that she's wanting to have now for the current situation.
Yes.
Which would then allow us to avoid a rezoning, right?
If she gave the third child the entirety of what she has now. So if she
Take the
calls,
map back.
so if she carves off additional now,
Okay.
that is going to put her under 7.5 acres on her parcel, on her homestead parcel. So with her being under 7.5 acres, she would not be able to give to the third child in the future. So right now, her parcel itself is 7.95 acres.
Yeah.
If it goes under 7.5,
Yeah.
she can no longer give a family lot.
All right, sorry, I was taking a note. Discussion item for sometime later. So it's the pleasure of the board. Ordinance number 2025-17 rezoning.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second for ordinance 2025-17 rezoning Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. Yes.
All right.
And that's all we have for you, Miss Amy. If you want, you guys can sit here and listen to the rest of us.
So, good luck, everyone.
Just extending the offer. Good to see you, dear.
Thank you.
All right, so the next application we have is for ordinance number 2025-18, a rezoning with a request of agriculture 7.5 to agriculture 5. This parcel is owned by Miss Virginia Higginbotham. It is located at 13454 Hamp Register Road. I added an extra word there. I'm not sure where that came from. I apologize. It is currently 13.8 acres with land use of Ag B and a zoning of Ag 7.5. The parcel right now is currently in compliance. This 13.8 acre parcel has
Excuse me.
one a single-family structure on it. The applicant would like to give her daughter a portion of this property to reside on. This is not her homestead property, so she would not qualify for any sort of family lot. If this was her homestead, she could give a child, 1 acre and still have a conforming lot with no issue. In this case, it's not the homestead property, so in order to transfer property by way of inheritance, whatever you are transferring has to meet current zoning standards. If she were to give the daughter 7.5 acres to meet those current standards, it would leave the mobile home that is on the property now not in compliance. She would need 15 acres to be able to do that smoothly. So the request is to go to Ag 5. That way she can deed the daughter 5 acres to live on, and the rest of the parcel with the mobile home would stay together and be a conforming lot as well. So you see this is kind of where it shifts from Ag 7.5 to Ag 10, and from Agricultural Zone B to Ag Zone A. The one here, this is your FEMA flood zone. This is it's a very wet area. I did zoom out a little on this slide to kind of give you a better idea of where you're looking at. So this is 127 here, and this is where Hamp Register comes off of 127. So the bridge is there in that area, so the creek kind of, flows through that area. So we've talked to the property owner. They are aware that wherever their intention would be to put that structure, it is a wet area, and there may be some elevation certificates and that kind of stuff necessary. Like I said, the parcel it's in compliance now. She's preparing to separate property for her child. Staff recommends approval, and let me know if you have any questions.
Give everybody a second. And you said you guys already did talk about the wet area?
Mm-hmm.
Because that area is wet out there.
Yes, it is.
I have no questions. What do you guys got?
It's gonna be a different color in the middle of other colors. I mean, again, yeah. It just stinks. The cleanest thing would be for it to be homesteaded so that she could just do a family lot for it.
So, just for some additional information, her homestead parcel is a parcel that is next door to this.
Okay.
So this is just some additional property that she owns outside of her homestead property. But yes, ideally, if it was all together, of course, that would be a much better situation.
Okay. Hearing no comment from the board. Is there any public feedback? Okay, back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board? Ordinance number 2025-18.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second? No second? Or do we need to go back more discussion?
Well, my hesitation is probably very similar. So where's the nearest Ag 5 from here? This is.
So, I'll tell you, across the county, there's very little Ag 5 because
Yeah.
it was only created in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So, everything that is Ag 5 has just been in the last 5 years. So, nearest there is some along 125. without looking at some aerials, it's hard to tell you the closest one.
Yeah.
I would really have to look back at.
And historically speaking, the reason we went with Ag 5 is because people were buying land out here that was zoned Ag 7.5, but it wasn't sufficient acreage. And so now they were stuck with a piece of property that they couldn't build on.
Yeah.
Or we would end up in a situation like this where people were trying to deed property to someone else, but because it was zoned Ag 7.5. So we as a board about, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, in 2020, towards the end of 2020. Prior to that,
Came up with,
there was not a zoning category in between RCMH 2.5 and Ag 7.5. So all of the parcels that had acreage between that's a pretty good jump. So all kinds of all kinds of data went into it. There's a lot of parcels that were in between that 5 acre mark and that 7.5 acre mark. So that seemed to be the best way at the time to kind of encompass a lot of those properties.
So is there a scenario where the staff would have a problem with moving from Act 7.5 to 5 at this point? It sounds like this is the new.
It's very common right now, and that's hard to say. It really depends on the situation. There have not been many requests from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5 that have had a reason for any hesitation on our end. Generally, with that Ag 5, we're talking through a scenario where they're wanting to keep that property within that agricultural zoning. A lot of people aren't a fan when we start talking through this of going to RCMH 2.5 because you're looking at losing your agricultural classification, and most people understand that there's kind of some heartburn going from Ag 7.5 to RCMH 2.5. So I can't say that there's not a situation, but most of the time when this type of request comes, we see some clarity for it.
Yeah. So my only hesitation is like introducing a new zoning, like you said, like this will be the only 5 in a large area. We're kind of setting precedent, right? So next time it comes up, it's like we look
Right.
less stringent at it, and it's like, okay, there's 5 there.
Right.
Oh,
And
so just acknowledging that's what we're saying now is it's okay in this area.
right. I would agree with that. And, it almost, honestly, you could almost argue that anything we make Ag 5 would be spot zoning, just because there's so little of it. With it being a newer category, most places that we introduce it the first time, it is going to look like spot zoning. And there are a lot of areas, especially with family property, where they deeded 5 acres thinking that was enough, or they're wanting to deed to family members but keep that agricultural use. But I can definitely see both sides of that.
It's just
Yep.
a rezoning.
mm-hmm.
It is. So there's not a land use change. Ag 7.5 and Ag 5 are both part of agricultural zone B. So there's not a requirement for a land use change.
Any other questions? Did you get your answers?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's try it again. So what's the pleasure of the board for ordinance number 2025-18, rezoning?
Where's the proposed residence going to go? I'm sorry, Greg.
Oh.
I'm
So-
still mulling on this spot.
Okay.
If you, let me see. So the road separates this parcel.
Yeah.
So there is only, I think it was 4.8 on this side.
Okay.
So it's going to be cut out of this portion here. There would be 5 acres cut out.
And that proposed sliver is gonna meet the setbacks required in this zoning district that we're going to?
It will.
That's all I got.
Okay. All right,
Do we just need the second? I can say
Yeah.
if we can just piggyback off.
if we can just piggyback off
Second.
that. So we have a motion and a second. So all in favor of ordinance number 2025-18, rezoning from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. But you understand, LaDonna, and for the audience here, some of our concerns. We do not want to break up the historical agricultural areas and start putting a bunch of spot zoning in there. And so with everything around here being Ag 7.5, us trying to be good stewards for the county, if we start putting in RCMH 2.5, things like that, then we destroy the rural character of the area. And that's the reason for the discussion. You know, in Ag 5, as LaDonna mentioned, is a recent categorization for us, because before, as she mentioned, we were 2.5 acres or 7.5 acres. There was nothing in between. So people were buying property, couldn't do anything with it. So as a way to encourage new people coming out here or family members to congregate together, we had to come up with another classification. It's not that we're trying to be hard-headed, we're trying to be good stewards of the land and manage the growth here in the community. Okay? All right, motion carries, it's all approved. And you guys can stick around and listen to the rest of us, or have a good evening. Go have some
We
supper.
understand if you want to go home.
You're welcome.
Okay. So kind of along the same discussion that we were just having, this next application that you have, it is for ordinance number 2025-19, and it is a rezoning request from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5 as well. So this is a 6.25 acre parcel that's off of County Road 125 South. So in this instance, in the mid 90s, 96 to be exact, this parcel was cut out between family members, and you know, we used to see this a lot. Each child would kind of get you get the north half, you get the south half, it was just kind of split up that way. In this case, this parcel ended up only being 6.25 acres and not 7.5 acres. So this is the first time that there's been a request to build upon the parcel. So even though it was created in 96, there has not been any intention to build on it until now. So that's how we're here. This is one of those parcels that was created by the family members, splitting the parcel as parents would pass. It was passed on to family members, and if you look, it's a little hard to tell. The way the parcels lay, like this one to the north of it, it looks very similar, but it's just a couple foot wider, so it meets that 7.5 acre requirement. But the way this one sits, it does not. So again, created in 96, it's vacant, would be considered non-conforming because it was not created prior to 1991, which is where we started, putting this into place. So they would have to do some sort of rezoning to bring the parcel into compliance. We felt that Ag 5 was the best category for that. It's not their intention to add any more residential units other than just one single family home. On this side of the street, it is Ag 7.5 with Agriculture Zone B. Directly across the street, it is RCMH 2.5 with a very low density residential. So it's kind of like the road is the defining feature here. There is a little bit of FEMA flood zone just to the north. It's not directly on this parcel, but it was close enough that I felt I felt the need to show that. With this request, the change from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5 would bring the parcel into compliance, so that they could build their single-family home. Staff recommends approval. If you have questions. So it is in the same, it's the same family that has owned it since it was split in 1996. So this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. There was a lot of those parcels that were created that fell between that 5 acre and that 7.5 acre, and it wouldn't be the long-term goal of the family to go to a density of 2.5. So there's a lot of these like this throughout the county that fall just under 7.5 acres only, but more than 5.
So would there be, it's a 6 1/4 acre lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna zone it from Ag 7.5 to Ag 5. So it'll be Ag 5 plus some acreage, acre and a quarter.
Right.
Down the road, if they decide to sell this, they're gonna have to come back, say they sell off that 1 1/4 acres.
Yeah, in order to separate that out, they would have to go through some sort of process. Yeah.
Okay, just as long as they understand and recognize that.
Yes.
Again, this is sins of the father, I guess, for lack of a better term. What do you guys think? Comments?
Questions?
Good.
This is easy.
All right, sir.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve ordinance, to vote on ordinance number 2025-19, rezoning. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, motion approved. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. Be safe on your way home.
Okay, so the next 2 applications that we have are companions, so if it's okay with you guys, we'll present them at the same time. Okay, so this is for ordinance number 2025-25, a small-scale land use amendment, with a request of Ag 10 to Ag 7.5, from Agriculture A to Agriculture B, and then the companion rezoning of ordinance number 2025-20, a rezoning from Ag 10 to Ag 7.5. So this parcel here is 11.82 acres, with a land use of Ag A, zoning of Ag 10. So it has 1 single family home right now, currently compliant with all standards. It is the intention of the property owner to give 2 family lots. They have 2 children. Right now, they could give each child a 1 acre family lot, and there would not be any issue with that. They would give 1 family lot of 1 acre. That would leave them 10.82. They could then give a second family lot of 1 acre, and that process would not be held up at all. They would like to give each child at least 2 acres. So that is why you're seeing the zoning request, so that they can make those family lots a little bit larger. It would be their intention for the back, like the back 5 acres back here. You would kind of see that split in half, and 1 child would get each one. So this area here, it's along Turner Cemetery. So you'll see this is where 125 is, and then Turner Cemetery comes down here, and then just down here is J.D. Smith Trail, and then you'll hit Hamp Register here. So this area is kind of mixed between Ag 10 and Agriculture A and Ag 7.5 and Agriculture B. Originally, all of this was Ag 10, and then as you can see over time, there have been kind of pockets that are expanding of Ag 7.5. With this request, the only benefit to this would be for them to be able to give 2-acre family lots. Just the request to go to Ag 7.5 without the family lot process would not give them the zoning to add a second home or to split 7.5 acres and sell it. There's not enough acreage here for that. So the only benefit for them would just be to be able to give their children a larger family lot than the minimum that's required. So again, the parcel's currently in compliance with all standards. Ag 10 to Ag 7.5 would be similar uses. Again, the only benefit for the property owner would be to make larger family lots for their child or for their children. So when we sent these agenda packets out, this was all the information we had put together. Over the last couple of days, we have had some outreach from neighboring property owners, and those property owners have been in opposition of the zoning request. So in your packets, on the back, it's clipped to the back of your applications and ordinances, which you may have to. I think since Gabe's online, you may need to pull one out for him. So we've had five property owners in the area that have submitted letters. After talking with them, some of them were not going to be able to attend the meetings, or they were able to attend, one of the 3. So they wanted to. We figured the best way to cover all of our bases would be for them to submit a letter, and then that way those letters could be made part of the public record. And if they were not here to be able to voice their concerns, we would have that in a written form. It is obviously that's why we have these public meetings, and that's why it's advertised and noticed the way that it is. If something's happening in your area, it's your right as a property owner to be able to have a voice about it. So we would never want to deter that voice. So, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how you would like to go about addressing the letters. I don't know if you want one of us to read them for the public record, if they can just be submitted in the written form for public record. Do you have a preference?
I'd like to read them first, but my preference would be let's read it into the record, because even though they could not attend, they've
Right.
submitted their letter.
Right.
And so everybody that's watching online and everybody that's here,
Right.
it's out there and it's all transparent.
Right.
Okay? But if you'll give us a minute so we can all
Yeah,
read through it.
absolutely. I was making sure that none of them that wrote them were here so that they could read them. And I don't think we have any of them in the audience tonight, so. And I do apologize that you did not have them sooner. When we sent these out, we've only gotten these in the last couple of days, so.
And as you spoke with these people, that submitted letters, did you also tell them about the county commissioner meetings that they could come up for that?
Yes, so with each of them, we talked about all 3 meetings, and so there was a combination. Some of them were not able to attend any meetings. There were some that could attend one, but not all. But we did make sure
Yeah.
to share all of the meeting dates.
Thank you, ma'am. You guys let me know when you're ready.
Good.
All right, Madam Director, if you want to, or someone read it into the record, so we have it, please.
What'd you say?
I see anything.
Were you volunteering? Is that what you were doing? You were volunteering to read everything?
No, I wasn't. I've been pondering a way to speed the process up, because I think this is going to be lengthy due to the amount of words we have here.
Well-
And if we can, I don't know if anyone's open to just saying, hey, we have 5 letters here and they are all 5 in opposition, and submit the written for anyone who's interested in understanding the details.
That works.
I would say maybe suggest us just read one, and then for comparison purposes,
Yeah,
we
they're
could say,
generally the same.
all.
Yeah. That, and then if anybody's got any questions, they can come in and request copies.
Right, and when we send everything over for the next cycle, now that we have them, they can be attached to be part of that agenda packet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, that works.
So, after reading it, do you guys have any preference as to which letter kind of encompasses the most? Do you have a preference as to which one I read?
Mine would be the one from Mr. Hodges.
Okay. So this letter is submitted from Mr. Daniel Hodges, who lives at 15781 Turner Cemetery Road. And it is addressed to the Baker County Board of Commissioners in regards to opposition to rezoning request at 15545 Turner Cemetery Road. It says, Dear Commissioners, I am writing to express my opposition to the rezoning request submitted for the property at 15545 Turner Cemetery Road, where the owner is seeking to rezone the parcel from Ag 10 to Ag 75 in order to divide the remaining acreage and provide it to 2 family members for residential use. As a nearby resident and a parent, I sympathize with the desire to have family live close by. I share that same hope for my own children. However, zoning laws like Ag 5 exist to preserve the rural and agricultural nature of our area. Changing these rules for one parcel creates a precedent that can have long-term consequences for the entire community. This would be the first rezoning of this type amongst the 36 Ag 10 properties on Turner Cemetery Road. Once one exception is made, it becomes very difficult to deny the next request, but many others will now seek to rezone, or how many others will now seek to rezone? And how can the county justify denying them if this one is approved? There is also concern about long-term impact. While the intent may be to keep the land within the family, there are no guarantees that the children will remain on the property. Over time, those parcels could be sold or rented, and the rural character of the area would be permanently altered. Even more concerning is the possibility that this change could open the door for large landmakers like MRT and Hope LLC to pursue similar rezonings. These companies own substantial nearby acreage and could take advantage of the precedent set here to increase housing density far beyond what the area was originally zoned for. Since Baker County does not have a conditional use permit process, the rezoning, if granted, is permanent and transferable, not limited to the current owner's intentions. That makes it even more important that Ag 10 zoning be respected and upheld. It's also worth noting that there is nearby property currently for sale that would satisfy the applicant's stated needs without changing the neighborhood's established zoning. Exploring those options would be a better solution for both the family and the integrity of the community's land use plan. For the sake of fairness, consistency, and long-term community planning, I respectfully urge you to deny this rezoning request and protect the Ag 10 standards that serve all of us. I just want to they mentioned a couple of things that I just want to show you, just so that everyone can visualize what they're talking about. So the lots that they are talking about are these lots through here. All of these are Ag 10, and they were all created at the same time. So those are the Turner Cemetery lots that are being referred to. And they mentioned MRT and Hope LLC. So the large tracts that you see behind the parcels, those are owned by those companies. So just in case.
Say that last part again, I'm sorry.
So they noted in the letter MRT
Yeah.
and Hope LLC.
Yeah.
So these large tracts here, that's the property that are owned by those.
They also own some of these 10-acre plots as well.
They do. They do. They own some of
Yes.
the 10-acre tracts as well. Yes. Yes. So all 5 of the letters are very similar, as you guys can see. They all discuss the same concerns. Like I said, we have 5 of them. One from Mr. Hodges, one from a Mr. Brandon Chance, who lives at 14925 Turner Cemetery. There's a Jessica Dyfoff, I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name. She did not provide an address for us. And then there was a Mr. Timothy Roden, and an Alan Johns. So like I said, we'll put these as part of the public record, and if anybody wants a little more detail or wants to see those letters specifically, we can help facilitate that.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, so the applicant is asking to rezone to create family lots containing at least 2 acres. We've got 5 letters in opposition. Nobody else. Are the owners here?
Yes, the property owners are.
Would you guys like to come up and speak?
Sure.
Yeah, just fill out a speaker card when you're done, please.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm Robert Hill. I've been a resident here since 2006, relocated from the west side of Jacksonville. We've had property all over the county. We had Copper Creek property. We have properties that my parents live in now. We're joint right of survivorship owners of them. We're invested in this community, and so are my children. My daughter and son-in-law are moving back from Crestview, and so it's been our dream since we bought the property that we would develop it so that we could live as a family for the rest, forever. Me and my wife aren't having any more children, so this will be the extent of, well, I'm not having any more children. Medically, I'm not allowed, I can't have any more children, but we're not dividing it anymore after this. The front of the acreage is designed to stay exactly natural like it is now, and we've already taken some steps clearing some trees. So the design is, or the idea is that it will be a permanent structure on either side of the property on the back, so each child will have 2 acres. That's what we're looking at, and so we appreciate the consideration. It's not designed to sell this property. If either child decided to not live there, the other child would take ownership of the entire parcel at that point, or it would come back to us. So it's not going outside of us. So, but thank you.
And conventional home, mobile home, any thoughts on that?
It may be a mobile home to start, and then build stick built by my daughter. My son wants to start with a more permanent structure, but he's a little bit more. She's more mature in age right now, so he's more about 5 to 10 years out before he decides what he really wants to do.
And that's fine. It was just a matter of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
I think the idea is not against you individually, right, and what you're wanting to do. We love Baker County. That's why we live here, right?
Yep.
And I think that, as a parent myself, I look forward to having what you're looking to build, where the kids are there with us, right? And I think that understanding what could come with the decision that is in front of us, and it's going to be in front of the county commissioners, and the door that could potentially open, that could drive unwanted characteristics to the area through future land development, right? And so,
Excuse me.
I think that I just want to share that sentiment, right? And maybe there's the ability to reconsider, and say, hey, if we're all going to live here, I don't know if you plan to put fences up or not, but it's one big happy family, right? No, you go to your 2 acres,
Right.
get off of my 2 acres, or whether they actually have 1 acre that's a part of the master acreage or 2, I think that you can potentially ultimately get what you're looking to achieve.
Sure.
I understand the ask, but I don't know if the door that it opens, with the amount of hesitation that we're seeing here, for me, it's a tough one to sign up for.
Yeah.
When if you're wanting the kids to be on the property, we still have that ability to do that through the family lot program.
So, putting myself at the mercy of the process, I don't know what can or can't be done.
Yes,
so
sir.
I walked into the land and
Sure.
said, hey, this is what we want to do.
Fair.
So the process went this path.
Yes, sir.
And
Understood.
Clearly, there's probably 3 other ways that we could, do this, but we're trying to do it above board and, at full disclosure. So
Yeah.
it's a little disappointing to get this much opposition just because we've been completely upfront with everybody on our intentions. So
Sure.
but we
Yep,
understand,
and
I understand your point for
Yeah,
sure.
right. And so, just want to share that, right? Because, we do love it here. We all
Yeah.
love it here, and that's why we live here.
Amen.
And so, for me, I think that we can. I see a path where everyone is happy. It just doesn't involve rezoning. So that's all.
Yes, ma'am. Come on in, please.
So I'm his wife, Stacy Hill. My question, I guess, would be to the rezoning
Yes,
is
ma'am.
there are on Hall Road, and most of that is Ag 7.5.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's where I don't really see. And if you look at 125, if you go back, there's one that almost is directly behind us that is Ag 7.5. So coming off of 125.
We see here,
That
this
was-
is 125 here, and these are, I thought you said this was not, these were Ag 5.
So they are, yes, they're ag, it's ag 5. I'm not sure why it's populating.
That's what I
5
saw,
there.
yeah.
But this is actually, was a 10-acre tract that went through a rezoning to ag 5, and they split that in half. It was a similar process. So yeah, that strip there is actually, that's actually 2 5-acre parcels.
So that's kind of where we want to do it right from the beginning.
Sure.
My son is 19, so he's not close to doing anything with this, but to make it fair with our children, we want to do it evenly and do it right from the beginning. And that's the reason. I know it doesn't, if we can do 1 acre each, that's great. We'll proceed if we don't get this approval.
Well, 1 acre minimum.
Correct. But we would like to be able to do the full 2 acres each right from the beginning. And I think there is precedence because, there obviously is Ag 7.5 all around us. If you look down Hall Road, and most of that is Ag 7.5.
Or even smaller parcels there, but yeah. And if you go back down towards J.D. Smith, look at J.D. Smith and Turner Cemetery, there's a couple of other smaller properties there as well.
Mhm.
So it feels like there has been some precedence already set for something like this. And these properties also, abut up to the concerned properties that the residents had made a concern about, either Hope or the other property owners. Those other properties have already set that precedence here, in my opinion, that they're concerned about. Even though he researched it himself, Mr. Hodges, I don't think he saw that part of the property. So I don't know if that was a concern for him or not. But we didn't start this precedent. We're just trying to do what's the right process by putting ourselves at the mercy of Ms. LaDonna and the land zoning property. Thank you for hearing us.
Thank
Yeah, no,
you.
and I actually want to stand corrected. You have 11.82 acres, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So if we peeled off, and you're in Ag 10, so that leaves you 1.82 acres to split 2 ways, and that would be 9/10
out of
of an
compliance
acre.
with
So
that.
you wouldn't. They actually couldn't even do 2 family lots.
Right.
So this is rezoning is the only way forward, even if they wanted to do 2 minimum 1 acre family lots.
So if they gave 1 acre family lot.
Okay.
When they gave the second
Yeah.
1 acre,
Yeah.
at the time of issuance, they would have 10 acres. Or they would have.
Yes, they would have.
They would have 10
more
acres
than,
at the time
yeah.
of issuance.
Okay.
But I know we briefly discussed this before. A lot of banks, when it comes to rezonings and stuff, or when it comes to refinancing and stuff, the banks don't want to see that parcel under. They would be able to do 1 acre.
Yeah.
But yes, that would put their acreage under 10 acres, what they were left with.
So they could do the first one at 1.82 acres, give that first family lot. They would still be in compliance at 10, and then give another 1.8 acres through the family lot provision, and get pretty darn close to what you're trying to achieve without rezoning.
We just don't want to start off at a disadvantage and get ourselves into a position
Sure.
where we can't be fair to our children because we want to keep
Yep.
it even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Understood.
thank you.
Thank you.
And if you guys could fill out speaker cards for us, please. Thank you. So my point is that there's already been precedent set in that area. And I understand and acknowledge the letters that have been submitted, and I understand the intent and the content of what they're trying to do, but precedence has already been set. Secondly, individual property rights. We do not want our government coming in here telling us what we can and cannot do with our property. Every person, if one of these families down the road decides they want to split it, they're not going to be able to if we say, oh, this is absolute what the county says. So I want to respect the property owners' rights as well, and not have a heavy hand of government coming in.
And that's why I mentioned earlier that there would not be any other benefit for the property owners to rezone to Ag 7.5 outside of being able to give larger larger family lots. If this was a 15-acre parcel and they were asking to go to Ag 7.5, then yes, that would leave a 7.5-acre piece that could be split and sold or something. But going to Ag 7.5 does not allow that additional acreage to do that.
Right. That, and then with the other major landholders in the area, if they so decide to develop that sometime down the road, 5, 10, 15 years, that's going to be a conversation back again before this board, and everybody can come in, the whole community, and talk against, or not against, but exchange their ideas with those landholders.
Right.
By virtue of us, if we approve this, just granting this rezoning does not open the floodgates and say that everybody's going to come in and we're going to throw up a subdivision in that neighborhood or in that
Right,
region area.
Right, because that would of course be a whole different process.
Correct.
They have to hold the family lot for,
3 years
Three.
from the time they CO.
okay.
So once the structure's built and they've had the clear to move in, they have to have it for 3 years.
So,
And, excuse me, if it's any additional consideration, we would be willing to permanently lock it. I mean, if that's something that's even open. In one of the letters, it was like not an option, but
Yeah.
that's something that took consideration.
It's not something that, with the rezoning, we can't put conditions on it, so.
Yep.
yeah. So this whole night's been interesting. I'm glad you guys have been here all night to hear, my comments earlier shared some of the sentiment of these letters, and so we take it pretty seriously, trying to maintain when we can the ordinance. And so my hesitation is much like Gabe's earlier. We have a solution in place right now with common practice for each child to get 1.8 acres, right? 1.8 acres through family allotment we can do right now without this process. So
Potentially, yes.
So my question is why prefer to go this route than that? Like why would that not be the most suitable route?
Honestly, we take a lot of direction from the property owners when they bring us their intention, and when they bring us their intention and they want their children to to have equal acreage of 2 acres or more. That's what we look at options to get there.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question goes back because they kind of came in saying we went to the LPA or the department and we're kind of just doing what we're being led, really. So the question goes back to you guys. Does that sound like an amicable solution?
It does, but does that impact homestead opportunities or anything else? Can they still go that path? I mean, do they own the property? Can they use that as collateral? I mean, those are things that come to mind for me because they're gifts of equity, basically.
Yeah.
My question is if we do that, then we're out of compliance. So if we give each of our children 1.8 acres as family lots, our parcel then becomes out of compliance because we are less than the 10-acre requirement.
Which for zoning purposes, that is fine with it being the parent tract.
Correct.
But we've just seen a lot of instances with financing and things like that. It causes a problem in the future for those property
Well, I mean,
owners.
to understand, but the family lots are going to be out of compliance.
Right.
I'll say that we have not had pushback for family lots themselves. The pushback has all been on that parent tract and it staying in compliance. When we send over the family lot provision, we don't get any pushback from those 1 acre pieces. All the pushback we see is from that parent parcel. Why that is, I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
that is the trend that we're seeing across the board.
Sure. No,
And honestly, that's something that we've really just started seeing in the last year or so. A lot of financial institutions are starting, in the last year, we've received more requests for buildable lot letters than we have in the several years prior to that.
Yeah.
I think with financing, a lot of places are changing their processes and they're checking bases that they weren't before.
You've seen rejections from that?
We have. We had one about, I guess it's been about 6 months ago. They were trying to refinance with the bank that they already had their mortgage with. So when they first got their mortgage, they were conforming, everything was fine. They had given out a family lot. So that's why they were going back through a refinance, was to get a release for that portion and then to refinance the acreage that was left. And they hit a lot of walls and ended up going with another financial institution to refinance. And that's just it's not something we had seen in the past, but over the last year, we have seen it.
I mean, we're talking 100 by 100 area, less than 100 by 100 area.
Yeah.
That's 2/10 of an acre,
Mhm.
So. I don't know. There is 7.5 close to it. I mean, when we first started this, I was under the impression they were going for 0.5, and that's not the case. And so, there's 7.5 all around it.
Right.
It would, within close proximity. So even going forward, while understanding the sentiment of the surrounding residents, I think that it's clear what the intent is, and even if the larger tracks went to 7.5, I still think that there are large tracks that are 7.5 around. Maybe there's an opportunity, and I was potentially thinking of proposing a table discussion, but I don't want to slow the process down for the property owner. Maybe there's an opportunity with this new information that's came to them that you guys sit down next week and have a conversation of potential other path forward if this potentially becomes a roadblock for them in the next
Right.
2 meetings that
Right.
they're up against.
Right.
They have a way to pivot and still get what they want. So
Right.
with that, that's all the comments I've got.
Okay. Sir?
Good.
All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Both.
Do we-
Let me give you the number here. Sorry.
Yep.
Since there's 2. We are on not 2025-25, but 2025-20 rezoning Ag 10 to Ag 7.5. And then we'll do the next companion after that, correct?
Yes.
Motion to approve 2020-25 rezoning Ag 10 to Ag 7.5.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025 small scale land use amendment. Oh,
Oh, yeah, so that one would be Ag A to Ag B. 25 would be Ag A.
yeah, I
to
got my paperwork mixed up here.
Ag B.
Damn it. Gabe, what was that number again?
2025-20 rezoning
Thank you.
10 to 7.5.
Yep. I had my paperwork out of order. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2025-20, rezoning from Ag 10 to Ag 7.5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, this is approved. And then the companion,
Motion to
Ordinance.
approve 2025-25 small scale land use Ag A to Ag B.
all in favor, or do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025 dash 25 small scale land use amendment from Ag A to Ag B. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, understand that, these are our recommendations to the county commissioners. I would talk with your neighbors, because they may be watching or there's something online. And just, talk that precedence has already been set. And the intent is to have your family there. It's Ag 75 that already exists in the area. It's going to go before the county commissioners for 2 hearings. First a reading, and then people can speak up then. And then second time for the vote. So be prepared for that. And good luck to you. I think this is a good thing what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And as Gabe said, a lot of us want to do that. I'm kind of in those shoes right now myself, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my property.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
You too.
Have a good evening. It sounds like it's gonna get wet out there again, so. Yeah, every time you need it, right? Okay, so last one I have for you this evening, and we're gonna change it up a little bit. So, I kind of made a joke earlier today, talking with somebody that, you never know when we're gonna get questions on an application. So, if we know that something's going to get pushed back from the surrounding area, or if there's a lot of questions, we try to put that at the end of the agenda. But in this case, we didn't see that happening until after we had already prepared things. So the applicants for this application, unfortunately, are probably here a little longer than they thought they would have to be. So this request, they are companion requests, so if it's okay with you guys, we'll go through them together. This is for ordinance number 2025-21, a small-scale land use amendment with a request from Agriculture B to Industrial, with a companion rezoning of 2025-22 from Agriculture 7.5 to Light Industrial. So that's not something we see very often. It's a lot of our industrial property is inside the city limits. This parcel is off of Nursery Boulevard. So you see here is 125, here's I-10. This is the Journey store. So you would come around this way, and this right here is the RV park. It's Island Oaks RV park. So this parcel is 7.33 acres with a land use of Ag B and a current zoning of Ag 7.5. So that acreage is just under 7.5, but this parcel was in existence prior to any standards. So it's recognized as a legally conforming lot, even though that acreage is just under. So the intention of the applicant is to develop a portion of this property to be used for recreational vehicle storage. So it will be their intention to actually live on the back part of the property. There is a mobile home back here. And then the front portion of the property, there's like a utility building up here now. And kind of in this area here, you would see a section paved with parking for RV storage. So while looking through different options for that, you'll see here around the property, there's a lot of commercial and commercial highway. So all of this along 125 here is commercial. Not sure why that's populating red, but it's commercial too. And then this is recreation because it's the PUD, the RV park. So then you'll see here, this is all commercial highway with the RV park. So within that commercial highway zoning category, you are allowed to have RV sales, but it does not allow RV storage. You have to go to light industrial with the industrial land use for RV storage. I do not have a good answer as to why that is the case and what the difference between sales and storage is. But that historically is how our code has been. And actually checking some of the other counties that have RV parks now, their standards seem to be pretty similar to ours. That it, for whatever reason, it is a higher category to have storage versus sales. So there we go. Okay, so this is kind of two pictures from the entrance. I tried to get kind of one from each side so that you could see how you would go into the driveway. You can kind of see back here where not sure if that's the utility building or the, that's the old house. Okay, yeah, so
Storage is farther back.
it's further back, okay. So there was an old home that was no longer, useful, and that's been replaced with the mobile home, and the house will be removed. So the applicant's request for this land use and zoning change, even though it's something that, you know, we don't traditionally see a lot of industrial, it would still be considered a conforming lot and would have similar uses to neighboring properties. Considering the proximity to the RV park, it would be consistent with the area to have that storage there. Again, the property owners do intend to live on this parcel. It would only be the front side of the parcel that was developed for that use. So it would be their intention to live there and to run that, you know, business from their home property. So staff recommends approval. It seems to fit the area. Property owners are here if you have any more specific questions for them. They did present us with kind of a rough sketch site plan to kind of show how things were going to sit out. But of course, they have not went through any sort of civil process for that design. They want to have those zoning entitlements before they do that. These were the only applications that we got any DRC comments back on. Everyone else, all of the other applications, there were no comments. Our fire chief did note that he would want this to be looked at for civil review. We could not do that until we had those actual civil plans. But that is something, we understand that concern, and that is something that would be part of that development plan application. So it would be reviewed on a civil level. With this, they would have to submit a full development plan. It would have to lay out everything. We would see all the civil work. We'd see drainage. We would have to have water management district approval. But before they start that process, this is kind of step one. So, any questions, just let us know.
Yeah, are we talking like open air storage? Yeah.
Yes.
For now, it's approximately.
Sir, if you could, come up, that's fine.
For now, it's kind of hard to see with the picture. So as of now, the driveway goes in. It will go back to the private residence, but we'll have a veer off with a keypad. And for now, with it room to expand forward, we will fence in about 2 acres of it. That's the land is pasture land now. So we're going to fence that in, and as the community grows and it develops, we need it, we'll leave room to expand forward in the property. That's the intention now. And also, I don't know if it matters, but the existing old home, the home is a block home.
The proposal is right now.
That could potentially be an office later for that as well.
So we're kind of passing through that sketch that I was talking about to show you kind of how things would.
And can you go back to show the overlay, the node right there at 125? Yeah, thanks. And this is the parcel that is above the red commercial, correct?
It is, it
Yes.
is. So there's this parcel that's on the corner of Nursery Boulevard here.
Yep.
And then this is directly north of that
That's what I
parcel.
thought, yeah, okay. Here, sir. All right, with comments from the board? And I understand the light industrial aspect of it. Are you guys planning on doing any kind of repairs or anything like that, or just storage?
Regarding, oh, no.
No.
Just-
Okay.
yes, sir.
Yep. Okay, so it's just gonna be storage here for RVs. So it might be that somebody's,
Boats, RVs.
Boats,
We
yeah.
kinda, we're trying to do it kind of in conjunction. We've got with LaDonna and also seeing what subdivisions are coming, so we kind of see the need for it. Plus also, we've kind of been speaking with the management at the Island Oaks Park, and as they expand, they said they potentially could need overflow parking. And then also all their monthlies, the monthly people that live out there, they, along their power line, I don't know how familiar you are, they're keeping all their trailers and boats and semis. So it's kind of like in conjunction, trying to help, with their
Yeah.
overflow and all. So,
it's a win-win.
yeah.
We think so.
No, it makes sense, because, yeah.
And I guess if you're gonna store it, you just have to pull it across the street, so.
Yeah. Well, and the RV park has got certain well, we do as well.
Right.
That it can't be a permanent resident, so at least
Right.
one day out of the year, you gotta pull it off and put it somewhere else. Go to Ocean Pond or go right across the street.
And yeah, we have too, I know we have a lot of, he mentioned subdivisions, we have a lot of people who live in subdivisions now, and you're not allowed to have that just parked in your front lawn, Not everybody has the ability to put their boat or their RV in the backyard. So any need that the county has for that could kind of be encompassed here as well, for our residents that may camp throughout the year but need parking the rest of the year.
And it's new business for the community.
Right.
Okay. Have y'all got any other comments?
Yes, sir.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
How far did we send out notices?
We can tell you that. So we start with 300 feet, and depending on, we did 500 in this case? Yeah. So within a 500-foot radius.
And our neighbor right next door, we've talked to him, and he's like, yeah, bring it on, that's,
I
no
was
problem
actually
with
gonna
me, I
mention
come
that.
to
He
the
said if I
meeting.
need to, speak
Right.
on behalf.
Well, you got that, and that whole 125 I-10 area is all a commercial node that's going to continue to grow.
We hope we get a Publix or a Cracker Barrel or a nice restaurant of some kind right there.
Down the road, that may show up.
We gotta look at that. I mean, 500 feet only gets to the other property line, so you're really only noticing the neighbor next door.
So when we do 300 feet, if it doesn't populate at least 10 notices, then we go out to 500 feet. So we have a minimum of 10 notices.
Really?
If 350 feet
Okay.
does not get us that 10, that's when we go to 500.
Okay. And then if 500 doesn't get you the 10,
Then we keep going.
you keep going.
Yep.
So you send at least 10 out.
We set a minimum of 10.
I think the most that I've had to go out is like 1,500 square feet
Yeah.
since I've been here to get the 10.
Yeah.
Good. And no response from anyone. Interesting.
Which is, one of the reasons why I said before I started speaking on this, because we don't see a lot of industrial. I know sometimes that can be a little intimidating. People think industrial and think warehousing and things like that. So that's part of the reason that this was left for the last application, was to leave plenty of room for questions and discussion if needed.
And I'm just speaking from personal experience. So I used to own a business here in town.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were not manufacturing, but producing our own product, because we were inside the city limits, we had to get light industrial. We could not go commercial.
Okay.
Because it was considered manufacturing. It's what they
Gotcha.
classify this as. That we're
Right.
manufacturing products, even though we were the different kind of product. But we had to go light industrial where we were at as well. So it's kind of a leap. There's no middle ground in there.
Right. And that's why we looked at it in depth to see those differences in commercial highway and light industrial. And that's part of the reason I looked at some other counties who had RV parks to see if that was the trend everywhere else, or, is there a specific reason that RV storage was different than RV sales? Specifically for us, but
Yeah, that
it
is
seemed to
kinda
be that seemed to be the standard. It's just a question I can't answer.
Okay. Well, I have no other questions, gents. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll
I've already
second.
motioned to approve.
Oh.
so second.
Do we got a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2025-22, rezoning from Ag 75 to light industrial. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, this is approved. And then the small scale land use ordinance, ordinance number 2025-21. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve small-scale land use ordinance number 2025-21. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Both have been approved.
Okay, so we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Yes, if you would.
Thank you, guys. I hope you guys got something out of this and understood what we do as a board.
Yes, I've been watching the meetings, the city council meetings, just to kind of know
Yeah.
what to expect.
Well, thank you guys and all the best.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
all, we appreciate it.
Okay. Madam Chair, any announcements?
I do have a couple of things for you. So like you guys saw from your emails this past week, or I guess last week, so we did go through the interview process for the Planner 1 position. Miss Julie decided to throw her name in the hat for that position. So we went through the interview process, and she, in all aspects, seemed like the best candidate. So she was promoted internally, and that started this past week. Yes.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
Yeah, she is. She's been doing a good bulk of the job anyway. So it's always nice when we can do
Promote
that
from
within.
within.
That's right.
So we did have interviews today for her permitting position. So she's not quite fully up and running in that new position. We're going to have some time for training and things like that before she's able to fully jump over. But progress, and we're working on getting there.
Good deal.
So that's the big announcement. On the board comments, I put this under board comments, but it really should have been under staff comments. So like I mentioned in the email, we've been talking back and forth with North Florida Professional Services and with the other professional service providers that we already have contracts with. We feel comfortable that we've went through the process properly, and we have a presentation for the board this coming Tuesday. It is a request for a continued contract with North Florida Professional Services that will lay out and work us through the ear transmittal and comp plan update. First step is board approval, of course. Since we're looking at 2 different budget cycles, we're looking at like a phased project. The first phase would be to finish out this budget year and see what we can fit in this budget year with what we have budgeted, and then to show them what we're projecting for next year. Ideally for us, of course, we recommend to approve it, but it is kind of the ball in their court. We, after talking with everybody, they really seemed like the best fit for our county. They've worked with several other rural counties and counties that seem to have the same vision that we do. So we did talk about the differences in just an ear transmittal that would only update those legislative items versus a full comp plan rewrite. Obviously, a rewrite costs a little more, but we're hoping to maybe apply for some grant funding that would help absorb some of that cost. In my opinion, it would be beneficial for us to do the rewrite process instead of just those legislative changes. Like we've talked before, we have several things that we just, they weren't issues 5 years ago, and we want to get on top of those. Our current comp plan does not mention solar facilities at all, and we have 5 solar facilities. There's no discussion of agritourism. Some of the other things that we have talked about that definitely need some work and amending, those would not necessarily fall under that ear submittal. So we want to.
So that was what was put in the RFP or the RFQ?
Yes. So the proposal that we are presenting is for a full strike through and underline rewrite.
Okay.
You'll see.
And can we get a copy of that proposal?
I can't. As soon as it's approved, I'll send it to you.
Oh.
Or if you look at the commissioner agenda, it's part of the agenda packet. So the first phase that you'll see is going to be mostly work for that ear transmittal. You kind of get that. That is the portion of the process that has that 1 year time frame that we talked about. So that's what you're going to see in the first phase or 2, is that part of the work. And then once that's finished, we start on the additional things. We talked different workshop ideas. It seems that traditionally it has been more open meetings with LPAs and boards and public comment all together. That seems to be what has worked best in the past for most places. So that's what we're going to be looking at.
And this comp plan,
proposing.
we're just looking at this just for the legal intent of where we plan to go, not a vision statement or anything, not a strategic plan for the community.
It would not be a full strategic.
Well,
It would encompass the vision of the county,
Okay.
but
well, where I'm going at is there's one thing that's the legislative updates.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
That's block and tackle, knock that out of the way. And then when we go through the full comp plan rewrite, do we weave into that the strategic vision, or are we just taking care of the legal elements that we need to?
No, the idea is to encompass everything together while we're already at it.
Okay.
Go ahead and encompass everything so that we're not looking at this.
Because I can give you some other feedback.
Right,
Some other
right.
notes just to consider.
Right. And there'll be, there will be room for, plenty of room for conversation. They've been very, very open talking through this process. So, they've been very open to our input and where we want to see things going.
Cool.
I had mentioned we had discussed to put those workshops, go ahead and schedule them for the year. Kind of some direction from you guys. Is that, would you still prefer to have kind of an open standing, or would you like to see what the proposal looks like for those group settings?
I didn't understand your question.
So we discussed having open standing workshops the end of the month.
Right.
For this subject matter. Would it be your preference to still move with that right this moment, or to maybe get some direction with them and how they generally handle those with public meetings?
My preference at this stage of the game, because it's now July, before anything even kicks off on this, is that we just follow their guidance. It's been a year and a half that we've been talking about this. We kicked off the letter, back in April? So we've got until next April?
Yes, for the
the
year
legislative,
update.
yes.
Yes.
So I think we, instead of replowing plowed ground, we
Right.
just take what they have and then just make sure that it's comprehensive in what we're doing.
Right.
And then also transparent, so we don't get people that are saying, oh, this happened or that happened. The social media is its own thing. But try and get some public participation so that, hey, we're all in this together. As we demonstrated tonight to the applicants here and the other people, we are here, we live here. We want to protect the community as much as everybody else.
Right.
But we also recognize that we're going to grow. Change is coming. So let's adapt and modify and structure how we want to grow versus all the comments that say, oh, backdoor deals. That's not happening.
Right. And I'll say the proposal that we're presenting Tuesday night, it really lays out, at what point, we would work on this part, and then we'd have a public hearing, and then what the next step would be. So it kind of lays out the work that would be done when the public hearing happened, and with each step, there's kind of room for that public hearing prior to the submittal of anything. So it's kind of laid out in the proposal. Of course, that has to be approved, and with potential grant funding, we kind of have two overall phases now. Depending on what happens with that, the second phase may need to be kind of split in half to phase 2 and phase 3. A lot of the grant funding for this type of thing, it's very specific what your proposal is. Whatever you're proposing has to be exactly what's covered under that funding. So, but that would be future phases.
And this grant funding is future oriented, or is this just...
It is. So there's Florida Commerce has some specific grant funding that is for technical planning assistance. So
Okay.
it's designed for this type of thing. Yeah.
All right, good. I just didn't want to get us boxed into a...
Right.
I know you're smarter than that. It's
Yeah.
just, I had to ask the question.
Yes, absolutely. So ideally, next meeting we'll have a better idea of what that looks like, and in the meantime, once we have the board meeting Tuesday night, kind of either way, I'll send you guys out an email. This is what it looks like. This is, you know, if it's approved, if it's we're kicked back for changes, you know, whatever that looks like.
And I want to say another thing, thank you for all that. But I've seen some of your emails at like, you know, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 a.m. And there's nothing, we're not launching, you know, the space shuttle here, so.
Sometimes I do my
That's
best.
when real work gets done,
I
Greg.
do my
No,
best.
I
I do my
understand
best.
that. That's what I'm doing at that
Honestly,
hour.
I do some of my best thinking.
When there's no distraction.
When there's absolutely no distractions, and you know, I probably should be sleeping, but for whatever reason, I don't
So
know.
just,
It's just where
because I do the same. But
I
a
know.
trick I have learned is you can schedule a send.
That's true. That's
So
true.
that way your boss isn't saying, God, what are you doing up at
Yeah.
1 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah. So if you start getting like routine emails exactly at 8:30 in the morning, just know it was probably written at midnight. But
Understood.
Yeah.
But thank you for that, all that. And I do also want to thank both you guys for getting the agenda out a week in advance. That is awesome. Good job on that. But what do you guys think? Do you guys want to wait, or do you want to have our meetings internally?
I just gotta leave.
Okay.
I gotta go.
All right,
I
now.
was supposed to leave 15 minutes ago.
Okay, but be safe.
See you.
Thoughts?
What's the question?
Yeah.
The
Going back to
question
her
is-
I
yeah.
agree that, I mean, I think we're potentially doing rework or
Yeah.
not
Right.
working in a synchronous way with whatever they're gonna do, so
Yeah.
I don't see any benefit of us starting before them.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So any other comments for you guys? Any other questions?
Nope.
No. Mm-mm.
Now that we've kept you here till the storm is here?
I think it's passed now.
Yeah, I think it's come and gone.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.